Hey there, hope you're having a fantastic week. I have a confession to make, and the confession is that I have a pet peeve. And the pet peeve is, it really bugs me when people say, well, I'm stressed about this or I'm stressed about this. And because a lot of times the things that they're stressed about, in my opinion, they probably shouldn't be stressed about or maybe just aren't that important, so they shouldn't waste the emotion. So it got me thinking, like, what is the function of stress? And what we're talking about here, by the way, is distress. I'll talk about the other kind of stress in a minute, but what we're actually talking about here is distress. You know, what's the purpose of distress? Why do we have that emotion in the first place? Well, it goes back to an important evolutionary concept that something happens and it communicates to us and potentially to other people that that something's going on, that we should change our environment, change our habitat, or potentially leave completely our habitat. So it's a safety mechanism from thousands of years of evolution that is meant to help us be safe. But in modern times, we're relatively safe. So the distress that we have a lot of times comes from things that are a lot smaller. They're certainly not life or death. We're not faced with that saber-toothed tiger. If you walk outside your cave and you see a saber-tooth, yes, we should be distressed. If there is a hurricane or something coming our way, yes, we should take cover. There are times when this emotion is very, very good for us. So I'm going to suggest that even distress is not bad for us all the time. It is a protection, a safety mechanism. Now, there's the other kind of stress, which is called eustress, eustress. And that's generally believed to be beneficial. It's things like lifting weights, exercise that's going to make you stronger, going to make you better, challenging yourself, getting outside of a comfort zone and learning a new skill. That's going to create a positive stress for you. So what do we do about this? How do we seek out more of this eustress? How do we understand when we actually have eustress or when distress is actually good for us? How do we make a decision? Because after all, emotions just happen. We're human, emotions happen. It's just the way it goes. So I've got a few notes here about what I think. And by the way, this is just my interpretation of how to handle stress and how to actually apply pressure in your life to create good things. Because let's face it, nothing good, no growth happens outside of a comfort zone. There has to be outside pressure. It's why coaching works, because we're able to apply outside pressure to help you achieve things that you didn't think were possible. Think about an Olympic athlete. They have a coach because they're already very, very, very good at what they want, but they want to achieve something more. And my guess is, as business people, business owners, you want to achieve something more. So you need to put yourself in a place of outside comfort, because it's not okay to not ask what's next, to put that pressure on yourself. So here's a few sort of ideas if you can have. The first thing is, look, recognize that, distress and eustress are both valid emotions. It is okay. It's happened. We're human. We're going to have emotions. Number two, I'm going to ask you to stop talking about how stressed you are, because all you're doing is telling your brain, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. Guess what? Your brain believes that. I am growing, I am moving, this is a learning experience. Those would all be better things to be telling your brain. So when you find yourself saying, hey, I'm stressed, just stop and figure out how to rephrase it. Maybe you get somebody else in your family or a coach or somebody to call you on it. And actually, how could you rephrase that thing? Because what we tell ourselves when we're by ourselves is really, or even when we're with other people, what we're telling ourselves is what our brain believes. Number three, when you feel anxiety, is it really worth the energy? Is it really worth the thing that you're going to have? Or is there a way to flip the switch and ask a better question? When you start feeling anxious about something, ask your question, is this something I should feel anxious about? Or is this something that really is not that important right now? I'll give you an example of that. My wife asked me the other day, my son is getting married, and she said, do you want to look at the rehearsal dinner invitations? And then she started laughing because she realized I was going to say, well, no, I don't really care what the invitations look like, and neither does anyone else. They just need to know when it is and where it is and if they're invited. And the second thing is, so that's not worth stressing out. That's not worth trying to get it perfect. That's not worth trying. I see it all the time. People want to make something perfect rather than just good enough, getting it done. So if you're feeling anxiety about something, likely is, go ahead and make the decision. No, I don't need to know about that. Yes, that limitation looks good. Whatever it is, just go ahead and make it out there. The fourth thing I think is the most important thing is because you can't grow outside of a comfort zone, you have to actually seek uncomfortable situations that are going to lead to your growth. You have to try new things. You have to experiment, because the truth is you can't stay the same. A tree's either growing or it's dying. And so it is with people. You're either growing or dying. You're not going to grow if there's not any uncomfortable situation. You need to feel some eustress, some good stress for you to grow. And sometimes distress will help you grow as well. And the last thing I'm going to say is get a friend, get a coach. A lot of you already have a coach. Ask your coach. Tell them how you want to be pressured. Tell them what works for you. Because I've talked to a lot of athletic coaches, and that's interesting. I ask them, I'm like, well, how do you motivate individual people on a team? And what they say is everybody's different. So I might have a lineman who, would read something bad about themselves in the press and get all down. And so I have to keep them away from the press, and I have to I have to tell them they're the greatest thing ever. You get, everything in there. And then I've got another person, maybe a halfback or something, and they'll actually play better if somebody actually says something bad to them, or says, gives them a diss or something like that. So everybody's different. So if you're coaching, ask people how they want, or managing, how they would like to be pressured. And if you're the person who needs the pressure, then tell the people that are going to help you how you prefer to receive it. So some of you need to get positive pressure. Some of you need a little kick in the butt. Whatever it is, ask for help and get it. If you'd like some help achieving more in your life, then reach out to us. I'd love to have a bit of a chat with you and find out if we're a good fit. Hey, and until next time, remain uncomfortable. And that's going to allow you to become epic. Until then, all the best.